Hello and welcome to another episode of What's Inside. Today we're looking at the Duck Dynasty Redneck Wisdom Family Party Game. That is a long title aimed at ages 10 and up, put out by Cardinal. Now, this is based on the A&E TV series. It's basically just a bunch of trivia type questions from what I can tell. It does play 2 to 12 players, so it's a good party game if you like Duck Dynasty, and they do have a good following. So let's check the contents list. 1 answer pad, 1 die, 1 game board, 4 movers, 4 mover bases, 130 quote cards, 70 trivia cards, and game instructions. So let's open this up and see what everything looks like. Now, the show was on for a long time, so it had a pretty strong following. I found this pretty cheap, and I'm sure you can still find it. I've seen it pop up at like used shops too, so I think I paid $3 for it new on clearance, so I got a good price. Cardinal, they're kind of hit and miss for me, but some of their games are pretty good. Box quality is pretty decent, so there's our game board. Let's get all our bits out here and we'll look it over. There's a little tray for everything, which is kind of nice. There's our stands. Alright, so box itself has a space for the pad, the characters, and down here for the dice, which also have this character stands with them, but you can just leave them on. This is deep enough. And the cards. Anything hiding underneath, we always got to check. Nope. Plastic is pretty good quality, especially if left in the box. So this is actually pretty surprising. It will eventually crack like all of these do, but it is a little stronger and thicker than most, so I'll give them credit for that one. So first we have our quote pad here. This is your answers, where you put your answers, numbered 1 through 20. Your name is of course going to go on there, and they are double-sided, so you could get a lot of use out of it, a lot of games. That's good. No pencils, which is kind of weird. Usually they give you some cheap little pencils. The object of the game is to go around the board clockwise, pass through each set of 4 hunting spaces, and reach or pass your start space. You do not need to stop on the hunting space or actually go hunting, you just need to pass them. Alright, looks easy. Winning the game, if a player passes each of the 4 hunting spaces, then lands on or passes their start space, they win. If multiple players reach or pass their start space during the same turn, they all win. So let's look at the board. Alright, this is a pretty cheap top sticker. You could hear the crackling, I think, when I opened it up. And that's because of the cheap covering that's on here. It's nice and smooth normally, but age is not kind to these. It's very cheap gloss, so be aware of that. So if you find one of these, make sure the board's in good shape. It's not terribly well crafted. The backing of the board is actually okay. It's got kind of a cheap plastic vinyl type on it, but the top of the board is obviously the most important. Alright, so here we've got like Jace, and over here we got Willie. You got some squirrel hunting in between, and then you got Phil with duck hunting between him and Jace. And then there's Cy, and between him and Phil is frog hunting. And between Cy and Willie is deer hunting. Let's see what these huntings look like. Squirrel hunting, roll the die 4 times. If you roll 6 at least once, move down the trail to the squirrel. Nice shot. Oh, okay, so it's basically a shortcut. So let's say you were here and you decide to go hunting. You pass through here all the way over to there. So you can bypass these if you decide to go hunting. That's kind of cool. So the game mechanics look pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It is aimed at like 10 and up. The rules are just this sheet on both sides. That's it. And it's big lettering, big font. So pretty straightforward game. Each color on these squares represents a type of card. So like the red squares, blue square is trivia, and then these are quotes. You get quite a few here, so it looks like there's more red than blue. But those get stacked on here, you answer the questions and move accordingly from what I can tell. So let's open these up and see what kind of questions they have. Get the board out of the way. Oh, let's look at these other bits first. Here we've got the character tokens. Alright, we got Willie. He's red, blue for Uncle Phil, green for Jason, white for Cy. So these are just kind of, looks like laminated cardboard. Quality's okay. Not great, but Cardinal tends to do this with their games. They get licensed properties a lot, like Spin Master, and they make kind of mid-range games, mid to low end. I'd put these kind of toward the lower end, because I'm sure the game was only like 10 or 15 bucks when it came out, which in my opinion is overpriced, but I've seen worse. Definitely not the best quality that could have come out of it, but certainly not the worst. Alright, let's look at these. These are the bases. These are definitely cheap. They'll work, no problem. Likely they're going to get lost, but they don't need to be high end, so I'll give them marks for that. The six-sided dice, it's a die. It's definitely a lower end one, not Chess X quality or anything, but not a bad die. It's fine. So that's those. So let's look at these cards. Look at a couple of the trivia cards first. Alright, standard size cards. This is the cover card, it says. And the cards are double-sided with questions. So, alright, let's see what we got here. Who is Jep's wife? A, Missy, B, Jessica, C, Corey. The answer is B, Jessica. There's a white and a black side to each of these, and then on the back is another one. So there's actually 4 questions. So if you end up having asked one previously, you could go to the other one. So yeah, there's actually quite a few cards then, if you look at it that way. They don't appear to be numbered though, so there's, oh yeah, they are. There's a number right under the logo on the card. So you can actually count how many there are. And there are 69 of these, and then the cover card. So there's 69 blue cards plus a cover card to cover them up. So what you do is set them down on the game board, pull this off, take the top card, cover it back up, I assume, and then probably put it on the bottom. And you probably get to choose which question you ask. That's usually how these things work. But that's kind of cool. It gives you a lot more options for questions then, because there are 4 questions on each card, and that gives it a little bit more replayability. But I think it's pretty obvious you're going to have to be a fan of the show to get anything out of this at all. But if you've got a couple fans of the show, I think they would enjoy this game. But the fact that it's multiple choice too makes it a lot easier, because you can just guess if you don't know. And honestly, it looked like you had about a 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 chance each time. Alright, so here's your quotes cover card. Oop, these are stuck together. Oh yeah, look at that. Damaging the cards. Wow, that really screwed these up. Like I said, they went low end on this. The cards are a nice size, but obviously if they're sticking together, that is not a good thing. That's a sign that they use cheap gloss. And these are not even trading card quality, honestly, let alone gaming card quality. It's more like a laminated perforation thing you'd get out of like a cereal box or something like that. like you'd expect 3 of these to be together and have to tear them apart. Alright, so let's take a look at a couple of these. Duck Dynasty. Jace is pictured on this one. It says, blank blank is the most fun a human being can have while on this earth. And the answer is on the back, apparently. Frog catching. The duck season eve is to us a kind of like blank blank to city folk. Christmas Eve. Alright, so yeah, just a bunch of quotes from different characters. There's Jace, there's Phil, there's Uncle Si, there's Miss Kay. I don't really see any of the wives on here. There's Willie. Yeah, it doesn't really look, aside from Miss Kay, I don't think there's any of the wives on here. And it's only one quote from Miss Kay from the look of it. Yeah, oh, there's Corey. So the ladies are given kind of a humor token card. There's another Miss Kay. They are definitely in the minority here. Looks like a lot of Jace and Uncle Si's too. Fair amount of Phils. Yeah. Oh, there's one from Martin. He got his own card. Good for Martin. There's Jep. Another Martin. Yep, lots of Psy on here. So if you're a big fan of Psy, this is probably going to be up your league. Alright, so yeah, I only saw one Corey and about 4 or 5 of Miss K. Otherwise, it's mostly the men. And wow, this is brand new, and they're coming apart. So I don't know. That's pretty low end cards. Let's look at the third stack. These are just more red cards. I don't know why there's more quote cards than trivia cards, but there are. Are these numbered? Yes. Alright, so there are 129 of these quote cards. There were 69 of the trivia cards, and each deck does have its own cover piece, cover card. So there's actually 130 if you count the quote cover card. And there were 70 total with the cover card for the trivia. So these are just more of the quotes. There's a couple more Martins in here. But yeah, I don't see any of the other wives in here. Oh, there's a Goodwin card, or Godwin. I think it's Goodwin. He's got a quote. I'm not sure what season this goes up to, honestly. I'll check for copyright here in a second. There's a few more Miss K's. Oh, there's a Jessica. She was lucky enough to get her own quote. Yep, I don't know. It looks like the wives only get like one card each, except for Miss K. She's got a couple of them. So yeah, there's another Corey. So maybe 2 cards each. Yeah, there's a couple more Miss K's. There's probably about I'd say probably a dozen Miss K's, but only a handful of Corey. Corey's got a few, and the other lady only had one. I didn't see any of the third wife. So let's see if I can find a copyright date on here. Copyright 2013. So it doesn't say what seasons it covers, but around 2013 this came out. So probably in that neighborhood. But that is what is inside the Duck Dynasty Redneck Wisdom family party game. Over 500 questions and quotes. And that's because the cards are double-sided. The trivia questions are probably a little more interesting. Probably a little bit more fun for people that aren't massive fans of the show. But if you're a massive fan of the show, then the quotes are probably going to be a real challenge. But you'll probably know them anyway. So if you're into Duck Dynasty or Duck Commander stuff, then this is probably a good game for you. If you're not, it's probably not aimed at you. The card quality is pretty mediocre. I'm not impressed with the quality. Personally, I think that's kind of garbagey, so make sure you check the cards or get pictures of the cards if you're buying it online before you buy. It's just to make sure that they're in good shape, because those are going to stick together because of the cheap gloss. And same with the board, honestly. I'd be a little worried that that would get damaged, but that's honestly, the board is easier to work around because if there's a little tear on it, it's not going to make as big of a difference as if the cards are destroyed, because the cards are kind of the point of the game. So that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. As always, hope to see you on the next episode, and that'll do it for this one.